Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. In this video, I'm going to tell you one major common food that causes hives and irritated skin. Most people are eating this one food, whether they realize it or not. It is in such a wide variety of foods, and most people are unaware that it's actually one of the most common causes of skin rash and hives to date. But before I get into this common food, I'm going to give you a quick background into my story and how I came to this knowledge, along with a few other small related stories. Please watch this video all the way through to the end, because if you're not suffering from the itch, most likely someone you know is, and you can pass this on to them, share the link, and save them a lot of time, a lot of money and health, and avoid taking harmful antihistamines that slowly damage the kidneys over time. And they can live free from the itch and spend more time enjoying life with loved ones, rather than focusing on the constant discomfort that the itch brings. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tips on optimum health. Hope you enjoy my content. So I'll give you a bit of a background into my experience. I'm not a doctor, and I don't want you to think that I'm offering medical advice. What I am offering is something that most doctors claim to have no idea about, or they're casually hiding the truth to keep their jobs and to feed big pharma's pockets. I was 28 years old. I started getting itchy one day. I didn't think much of it. The itch got worse and worse over time. I found it odd to get an allergy so late in life, and I just prayed to God that it wasn't my dogs. A washing detergent change I could live with, but sacrificing the love and affection that my dogs provided was not something that I was ever going to come to terms with. But the itch became intolerable. Slowly, it had gotten so bad to the point of where if something had brushed past my skin, it would turn into a rash and visibly inflame for a good 10 to 15 minutes. I could even start writing my name on my skin, and it would raise to the point of being able to read my name on my skin. I eventually got to the point where I wasn't sleeping at night due to this torturous itch, so I drove myself to the doctor, who put me on antihistamines, something I had never heard of until that day. He did what's called in Australia a RAST test, which checks for allergies in the blood, and tested for antibodies such as pollen dust, pet dander, etc. The test takes roughly 2 to 3 weeks for the results to come in. And after those 2 to 3 weeks of painful waiting, there was nothing but negative results. He was puzzled and recommended I use antihistamines for a few months, and just hopefully maybe the symptoms would subside. I waited a few months and there was no change, so I went back to the doctor. I told him that I didn't want to live my life on antihistamines, not even for a few more months, and he directed me to the best dermatologist in Melbourne. The dermatologist again performed tests and decided to call it hives because he really just couldn't figure out what it was. I became disgruntled because I've heard of hives before this, but it just definitely didn't really feel like hives. However, he proclaimed there were many forms of hives and told me that sun exposure was great for the skin. But that was another reason for me not to believe him, because I'd already done my own trials and tests. Sun exposure was just not helpful, but I wanted to prove him wrong anyway, and I agreed to try his help, just in case. So he offered me a package deal to start off with, which involved coming into his dermatology office every second day, which was, by the way, 1 hour over the other side of the city, and to complete a total of 15 to 20 sessions in the stand-up sunbed. To test out his sun-kiss theory at a high price of $220 per session. I went to the first 3 to 4 sessions, and as I'd imagined, the sun exposure was just not the right treatment. The sun was just as helpful as a band-aid in the shower. I didn't have the time or the funds to waste on something that I knew wasn't working. He had no other options for me than to wait it out, and he mentioned that hives usually decrease 50% in patients for the first year, and then the following year another 50%, and so on, and just continued out throwing numbers to kind of make me feel hopeful. And then he finishes his sentence with the open, discouraging statement,
"But everybody's different."
And over 2 years later, nothing had changed, and I was still super sensitive and irritated, and I was still on the same harmful antihistamines. I had started some other health treatments at a local clinic that seemed to be really beneficial for me. I'd gotten to know the lady who had over 30 years of experience behind her belt. She was not only a naturopath, she was actually a homeopath. I explained my predicament that I was in with the itchy skin, and she asked me one simple question. Do I eat eggs? Yes, I replied, but only once or twice a week. She told me that that is too often and that I had to stop eating eggs for 2 weeks and see if the symptoms disappear. I found it super strange and I was super skeptical. However, at that point, I would give anything a go. So I begrudgingly cut out eggs for a few weeks. I was told that after 3 days into my egg fast, that as a test, to reduce the antihistamine intake by half. I did so and the itch was manageable, meaning that the symptoms had reduced. After 1 week, I was taking a half a tablet every second day. And after 2 weeks, I was free from the itch completely. No more eggs, no more rash, and no more antihistamines. I was finally free again. Free from what I now call eczema. I stayed off eggs for a month or so, then reintroduced them in smaller amounts. This day I eat an egg breakfast maybe once every 2 to 4 weeks, and some egg sauces and egg recipes on occasion, but I stay away from it as much as I can. I ate a few cakes and pastries this week and I'm feeling the itch return, so I'm going to completely back off for a little while. Eggs were once an amazing survival food for all of us, but sadly now, they are prime food for cancer, cysts, fibroids, tumours and nodules. They also cause inflammation and, as you now know, allergies. They feed viruses, bacteria, yeast, mold, candida and other fungus, and can be a trigger for oedema in the lymphatic system. My partner recently started scratching a few months ago. I watched it worsen and it was nostalgic watching him scratch and go through the same increase of sensitivity, followed by the 3-week wait for the allergen rust test, only to find out that again the results were negative. I have to add that it took him 3 months to give the eggs a ditch because he was so addicted to eggs and he loves his mayonnaise. But when he finally came around after a bit of a nudge and a push and a shove, he finally had his break from eggs, and the symptoms were reduced in the first few days, and so on and so forth. He was exactly the same as myself. This led to a conversation with his mother, who we have just found out that she has had the itch for over 10 years, but is still brainwashed by her father, who has sworn by the goodness of eggs forever. And he's always gloated about eating 20 to 30 eggs per week, being a bodybuilder in his former days, and continues the egg tradition, but he's cut them out to about 10 to 15 a week. I warned him often that eggs weren't so good for you and that it wasn't a good thing to eat such a high volume of eggs, and said that he should be careful because they can cause nodules and cancers and so on. He always laughed, and he still laughs to this day, regardless of the fact that just 3 weeks ago, he had a cancerous tumour cut out of his pancreas. And while there's no way to prove that eggs are directly related, if not the pure cause, with the information provided and the amount that he was consuming, I would say that without a doubt, there is a direct correlation. It's simply putting 2 and 2 together. Whilst putting this video together, I was looking back on my timeline. I remember back when I was in my gym phase, during my mid-20s, I was eating 6 raw eggs a day, well before my updated knowledge of eggs. And a few years later, when I was doing some general health exams, I had a scan done and they had found a large nodule that had formed in my lung. And looking back, I'm putting 2 and 2 together. And you may say, hey Candy, I'm not a big egg eater. But eggs are present in foods that you wouldn't even realise. Most white sauces contain eggs such as mayonnaise and hollandaise, and I bet you didn't even think about it, but sauces in sushis contain eggs and wraps and burgers. Most batters have an egg base, and breadcrumbs are more than often binded with egg, along with meatballs and meatloaf. That good old finger-licking chicken ain't looking so good now. Eggs can be found also in many baked goods such as cakes and pastries, and other sweets like custards and puddings and even ice creams, and the list just goes on. If you suffer from itchy skin and want to be more present in life with loved ones, rather than focusing on the discomfort and just have a better overall quality of life, make sure you give this trial a go and reduce your egg intake. Make sure for the next 2 weeks to read the ingredients in every single package of food that you buy and ask every person behind the counter handing you your food if the food contains egg. Remind every waiter at the restaurant that you cannot eat food that contains egg, and if you have someone cook for you, be sure to let them know that you are taking a break from eggs. Be serious, be committed. It's just 2 weeks. You have nothing to lose. It's simply an adjustment to your food intake for a few weeks. Have a squiz on Google and you'll find various egg replacement recipes. If you're counting on eggs for protein for the gym, there are plenty of other ways to get those essential amino acids for muscle building and repair. There are many alternatives to eggs, and again, you've got to remember that it's just a 2-week trial, and if you really are suffering from eczema, the break will be worth it, I promise. After this, you'll feel excellent. All jokes aside, after having a decent 2 to 4 week break from eggs, you may slowly reintroduce. But if you do decide to do this, please consider cutting down. Just remember that moderation is the key with everything in life. Both good and bad things in life need to be moderated. It's all a balancing act. Myself being an egg lover have reintroduced. However, I stick to an actual egg breakfast only once every 2 to 3 weeks and have white sauces and recipes that contain egg very minimally. Avoid if you can. So if you know anyone with any skin complications, or maybe someone that eats maybe 1 too many eggs, please link them to this video. You may be really helping them save a lot of time, energy, health and money, avoiding doctors' possible misdiagnosis and taking harmful medications. If you enjoyed my video and want more of these helpful insights, please subscribe to my channel and like and comment in the link down below. I have so many helpful random tips and advice just like this to share with you all. And if you complete a 2-week egg fast and you feel that this has helped, please share your story in the comments section below. Excellent work, my friends. I'm so much looking forward to seeing you in my next video. Take care, bye for now.